For nearly a decade, Mark and Jenna had built a steady life together in Portland, centered around their 7-year-old son, Liam. Mark worked long hours as a contractor, proud to provide for his family, while Jenna balanced her marketing career and motherhood with practiced ease. To outsiders, they looked like the picture of stability, maybe a little worn down by routine, but still solid. That illusion shattered one quiet evening. Mark came home earlier than usual, the house unusually still except for faint voices drifting from the living room. When he stepped in, the sight before him froze him in place. Jenna sitting far too close to her co-worker, Chris. The tension between them said everything words could not. Jenna jumped up, insisting Chris had only dropped by to discuss work. But her trembling voice betrayed her. Later that night, when Mark checked her phone, the truth stared back at him in a flood of messages. She'd been having an affair. The weight of betrayal hit harder than any blow. Numb, Mark told her to leave. Jenna wept, begging him to listen, claiming it had been a mistake, that she'd felt unseen. But he couldn't look past the fact that she brought another man into their home, into the space where their child slept. His voice barely wavered when he told her to pack her things. That night, she moved out and stayed with a friend. Over the following weeks, her calls and texts came in endless waves. Pleas for forgiveness, promises to change, but Mark stopped replying. He threw himself into keeping Liam's life steady. Morning routine, soccer practice, bedtime stories. On the surface, everything seemed normal, but anger and heartbreak roiled beneath. Eventually, he met with a lawyer and filed for divorce, determined to protect both his dignity and his son's stability. Months passed. The house grew quieter, emptier, but calmer. Days fell into rhythm. Work, school, dinner, sleep. Yet some nights, when the world was still, Mark's mind drifted back to that moment. To Chris's face, to Jenna's guilt. The memory reopened wounds he thought were healing. Meanwhile, Jenna began therapy and cut off all contact with Chris. Her messages became gentler, focused on Liam rather than on winning Mark back. Their conversations turned purely practical. School events, doctor visits, pickup times civil but distant. Mark often replayed their marriage in his head, wondering where things had gone wrong. Maybe his long work hours had left her lonely. Maybe he'd missed the signs. But even when sympathy tried to creep in, the image of her betrayal crushed it. She had made her choice. Then, one rainy night, came an unexpected knock. When Mark opened the door, Chris stood there, soaked, disheveled, and miserable. Rage surged instantly. Before Mark could speak, Chris stammered that Jenna had ended things, that he regretted everything, that he'd never meant to destroy a family. Without a word, Mark slammed the door in his face. His hands trembled afterward, anger and pain swirling back to life. He didn't tell Jenna. He saw no reason to. Instead, that moment fueled his resolve to move forward. When the divorce was finalized, Jenna didn't contest a thing. Custody, property, finances. Her quiet acceptance felt like her way of taking responsibility. Life divided cleanly in two. Mark focused on work, school mornings, and Liam's soccer games. His son's laughter became the one sound that steadied him. Jenna kept attending therapy, determined to grow, to at least earn Mark's respect, if not his forgiveness. They eventually began joint counseling, not to reconcile, but to learn how to co-parent without bitterness. There they faced hard truths. Jenna admitted she'd felt invisible in the marriage. Mark admitted he'd often been absent in his devotion to work. Understanding began to take root, though forgiveness never came. They built boundaries, strict honesty, no mention of the past, and full attention on Liam's happiness. Slowly, those boundaries evolved into something resembling peace. Jenna kept showing up every school event, every game, always reliable, always calm. The sharpness of Mark's anger began to dull. Months later, at Liam's school play, they sat apart in the audience. When Liam stepped onto the stage, both smiled. For the first time in a long while, Mark felt something close to calm. Their marriage was gone, the trust beyond repair, but life was beginning again, reshaped around their son. Mark found healing in small moments, coaching Liam's soccer team, fixing things around the house, rediscovering hobbies he'd left behind. Jenna changed too, focusing on growth in her career. Chris became nothing more than a shadow from the past. His visit had been a reminder that Mark could either stay angry or start reclaiming his peace. He chose peace. At Liam's next birthday, they stood on opposite sides of the table, smiling as their son blew out the candles. The moment was bittersweet. The scars would never fully fade, but so would the love they shared for their child. Mark no longer loved Jenna, but he no longer hated her either. What remained was quiet strength, a steady devotion to Liam, and a life rebuilt not from what he'd lost, but from what he still had. His son's laughter, the rhythm of ordinary days, and the peace of knowing he had survived the storm.